cars moving in for this staggered start. 3 off the front line, 2 in the second row, 3 off the third, 2 in the fourth, 3 off the fifth, and 2 in the sixth. Pace car staying on the racetrack at this stage. It's only when the pace car driver is satisfied and the stewards of the meeting are satisfied that all the cars are in position will they dispatch them, so we could well have one more lap. No, the pace car pulls out at the last moment. Richards has the pole. Grice on the outside of the front row. They all grab for gears. And it's pedal to the metal for round 5 of the Touring Car Nationals. Grice has missed the draft to Larry Perkins. Johnson is coming up, just shuffling his way through the pack. It's Larry Perkins who takes over the lead. Richards has been swamped as they make it down to the right-hander. Perkins will lead them into the right-hander. Second is Grice. Third, I think, is Georgie Fury in car number 30. What a start from Fury. Then back behind them is Jimmy Richards and Tony Longhurst, also well positioned.
Well, that was a very, very good rolling start. Tim Schenken, I think, did a great job in the pace car. He managed to bunch this field up. They all had big plans this morning of making a huge rush at the first corner and swamping everybody. That was thrown out the window, and it's Larry Perkins in the NZ Commodore who has the lead. Grice, Fury, then the 2 BMWs. Brock's moved up pretty well indeed. There's Denny Holm, Andrew Medicki.
They work the Yokohama straight coming down to Motorcraft corner. Right-hander brings them back onto the start-finishing line here at Adelaide International Raceway. And Larry Perkins in the NZ Connectors Commodore leads it from Gracie, Fury, Jimmy Richards. Then Tony Longhurst well positioned as well as they work the front straight. And just look at George Fury now starting to get on equal terms with Alan Grice, sitting right in his draft. Dick Johnson is the next one back, and also Brock.
Tony Longhurst, in fact, has made his way up and past Jim Richards in that opening lap. And there's George Fury in third place, well positioned in the Turbo Skyline. Car having been totally rebuilt since last weekend's 4th round of the championship in Perth. New engine, new transmission, new everything virtually.
New axles.
Especially new axles.
The pace for this one, a cracker as they come down towards the turn onto the oval. They've come through the Bridgestone S's. The little JPS BMWs are playing toe jobs again today. Yokohama straight. Perkins, Grice, Fury, then the 2 BMWs. Behind them is Dickie Johnson, Glenn Seaton, Peter Brock is the next one, followed by Colin Bond, Greg Hansford and Andrew Medicki. 2 laps completed. Round 5 of the Shell Ultra Touring Car Nationals. Georgie Fury looking menacing, sitting in here behind Alan Grice. We'll see if he'll pull out of the draft. Johnson pulling out, and Glenn Seaton going for the run as well. Heading down to the right-hander into the Shell sweeper. How close are they, the Commodore boys? And a good sight for Aussie V8 fans, but sitting right in behind them is the man in the Nissan is going to make life unbearable given another 10 or 15 laps.
All the makings of a fantastic race. The top 10 drivers, less than a second spreading them as they went to the grid. And although we've seen incredible changes in performance in the last couple of rounds, now we've got a V8, we've got a 4-cylinder turbo in 3rd position, we've got a 2.3-litre 4-cylinder fuel-injected car in 4th position. It's a real mix and match, and then behind them we've got Dick Johnson as well. Nothing separating these leading guys. Perkins, Grice, Fury, then Jimmy Richards now moving up a spot, Tony Longhurst, Dick Johnson, Glenn Seaton and Peter Brock.
Tremendous stuff, as you said, Neil. They work the front straight here at Adelaide International Raceway. Huge crowd in the background. Larry Perkins, here comes the farmer down the inside of Alan Grice. Taking the 2 JPS BMWs with him and getting on the even pace with them is Dickie Johnson in the Shell Ultra High Cosworth Sierra. Perkins still leads it. And everything that the Nissan can pull up on the Commodore seems to lose just marginally near the end of the back straight. Here's George Fury. He's going to fight hard for this one on Gricey. You'll well recall the scrap between Grice and Perkins last week at Wanneroo Park. In fact, Grice is helping Larry Perkins at this stage because Perkins is just inching away from Alan Grice, and he's got them backed up behind him like cabs at a city range.
Well, Larry's got a beautifully balanced car at the moment. Alan Grice has tested long and hard this week to get his right. Now George Fury squeezing through on the inside, a brave manoeuvre. Shots from race cam. There's the back of the skyline, but George wanders a little wide, and Grice having a look on the inside. Graphic shots from waste cam as they run down the straight once more. And now the torque of the Nissan starting to work just a little better. And it's Commodore leading Skyline, leading Commodore, and watch the black BMWs. They're in the draft.
Frantic pace in the opening laps of this round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals. There's the friendly farmer from Tal Malmo. Georgie Fury didn't have the best of luck last week, and he is blitzing here today at Adelaide International Raceway. The big thing now is whether Jim Richards and Tony Longhurst can take Grice. I don't think it'll be long before Fury moves up on the bumper of Larry Perkins. The car looking very, very strong at this stage of the race. Grice just ahead of the two black BMWs. What a great shot as they work their way onto the oval. Jimmy Richards, number 3, pole sitter for the race, and back in 4th at the moment. Longhurst is not sitting more than a metre off the bumper of Jim Richards. Wherever Jim's going in the draft, Tony's going to follow. And a little miss coming out of the motor that time of Larry Perkins as they came off the bowl. Perkins' motor sounding a little off. We'll see whether Fury can rope him in. Here's Dickie Johnson making a move on the first of the JPS BMWs. He's alongside Longhurst. There he goes down on the inside. Oh, no courtesies there, thank you very much. Nor should there be.
Gee, these guys have to concentrate. There's plenty happening in front. There's a lot happening in their own car, and their rear vision mirrors are absolutely filled at the moment. And it's Perkins who leads the pack. The engine in his car is the one they used to win the race at Pukekohe in the second round of the Nissan Mobile Series this year. And look at Dick Johnson right in behind Tony Longhurst. Glenn Seaton also buying into the battle as well, and Peter Brock not lurking too far behind. Glenn had problems. He was the fastest guy, I think, on about Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Very, very quick. But then mysteriously the car developed a bad understeer problem, and they tested late into the night last night trying to get it sorted out. But he's now getting up very close onto the back of Dick Johnson. Perkins, again, a little miss from the car as he came onto the straight. From Fury, Grice, the two BMWs, Richards, Longhurst, then Dick Johnson, Glenn Seaton and Peter Brock. Behind them, Greg Hansford, Colin Bond, and then Andrew Medicki. That's about the top 11 or 12 cars. 6 laps of 60 completed. Round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals. Lightning Larry Perkins and the NZ Connectors Commodore leads the high-speed dress parade from Tal Malmo's favourite citizen, George Fury, in car number 30, the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. They work their way out of the Shell sweeper. Grice still runs in 3rd. And we'll see whether or not Fury can close up. He gets extremely close as they come onto the bowl. There's Perkins, the NZ Connectors Commodore. Down Yokohama straight towards the right-hander at Motorcraft. They've opened up probably 4 or 5 lengths lead over Grice, and then the two BMWs, Johnson and then Glenn Seaton. George pokes the nose down. He wants the inside running for the next turn. Larry's car just sounds a little off the top end as he comes across the line. 7 laps completed. But he runs away from this point down the long straight here. And here's Johnson pulling out, having another lick at Tony Longhurst. Glenn Seaton also coming up to join them for a 5-car draft as they approach the right-hander. I've got the clock on Larry Perkins just to see exactly how quick he's circulating at the moment. These two drivers have opened up just a smidgen of a gap over the others. About 1.5 seconds back to Alan Grice, but you can see that gap quite comfortably. Brian Bolwell in the 323 BMW just getting tangled up in all this at the moment. Oh, goodness me. George Fury cops the short one there. Well, he certainly did, but that was really unfortunate for Brian. I think he tried to do the right thing, but they all swamped him so quickly. Now, if he stays to the inside here and out of harm's way, everything will be just fine. Larry's gap now is just on a second as he comes up to Motorcraft, and it was just coming out of this corner, I think it was yesterday, in fact, Saturday, where he flipped the wall coming out the other side right there, knocked the guard around a little bit, only superficial damage, and Dick Johnson again the mover in the pack. He's got Tony Longhurst, he's right behind Jim Richards, and look at Glenn Seaton gobbling up Tony Longhurst on the way through, and Brock moving up well in car number 6. This is a race. Round 5. Jimmy Richards, Dick Johnson sits back behind him. 3rd and 4th is the scrap at the moment that we're following. Right behind him, Tony Longhurst, Glenn Seaton, as you can see, and then Peter Brock is the next in line. Dick here making a run up right on Jimmy Richards, takes the outside, tries to squeeze through. Wasn't much room there. Won't expect any joy from Jimmy Richards. He's been concentrating here on trying to get on with the job of hauling in Grice, and now Johnson's come along and spoilt the game plan. Queenslanders unite. Glenn Seaton really getting into this battle as well. 4 cars involved in the battle for 4th position, headed by Jim Richards at the moment. Then it's Johnson, Longhurst, and then Seaton right on the end of the tail.
And it didn't look like understeer then. No. Seaton's car with the tail hanging way out.
And in fact, Perkins' car sounded a little better that time. Here comes Johnson down on the inside of Jimmy Richards, and Glenn Seaton trying to find a way past Longhurst at the same time. Chalk up one for Tricky Dicky. He's come up to 3rd in car number 17. But Richards keeps pounding away at the inside of him. Order still unchanged. Larry Perkins, the race leader. Second spot held by Fury. Third is Alan Grice. The next one to field the challenge is going to be Dick Johnson as he moves forward. And Seaton looking very strong even at this stage.
When you consider the fact that he was so far down on the grid and had so many problems, he certainly moved up well, and in fact he is closing the gap on the leaders at the moment. We'll do some split time shortly and also get some lap times to get an idea of just what they're doing. Dick Johnson, we're watching, he is in 4th position at the moment in the Shell Sierra. The leader, Larry Perkins in the Commodore. From Fury, then Grice, Johnson, Richards, Longhurst and Seaton. Peter Brock bringing up the rear of that group.
And what a marvellous season.
Smoke coming off the rear left of Tony Longhurst's car.
Richards, maybe. And look at, oh, dearie me. Team Tactics, one thing, he's going to get the ham and the sandwich treatment there. We'll keep on to that scrap, the BMW scrap. It's obviously where it's happening at. They are really carving each other up.
A couple of the young blokes flexing their muscles.
Tony must have clouded the wall as he came out of the corner because he's got a guard rubbing or some problem with the left-hand rear suspension or tyre. And that spells, I would say, doom for Longhurst. No problem when there's no load up on the car, you'll notice, when they come down through this left-hander, but we'll watch again when he comes through the bowl area and loads up the left-hand rear.
Well, all this is happening just ahead of them, of course. You've got Alan Grice shortly under siege from one Dick Johnson of Queensland, and Fury getting closer all the time to the tail of Larry Perkins. About 4 races going here.
Has he ever hit the wall? She's got a nice old straight down the side. Now it's a question of whether or not he can survive.
Here's Johnson down the inside of Grice. Can he do it? Yes, there's race cam from Alan Grice's Bob Jane T-Mart's Commodore. Goes in, but it has to give Johnson the run through on the inside, and that moves Johnson up to 3rd. Alan Grice in 4th spot. And of course they have a battle raging behind them as they exit Shell Turn. There's Jim Richards, the next one followed by Glenn Seaton, Tony Longhurst and Brocky. Down through the Bridgestone S's to the bowl once again.
Johnson the mover in the pack. The little Shell Sierra is certainly performing pretty strongly at this stage. And George Fury within 1.5, perhaps even 2 car lengths of Larry Perkins at the moment. This is the gap between 3rd and 4th. Alan Grice there on the left-hand side of the shot.
They come back onto the start-finishing straight, a long straight here at Adelaide International Raceway. And here's Georgie Fury in the Nissan Skyline. Larry Perkins leads the parade of drivers down the front straight. Getting closer all the time is Fury. Dick Johnson is 3rd. Alan Grice is 4th. Jimmy Richards is 5th. 6th is Glenn Seaton. 7th is Tony Longhurst. 8th is Peter Brock. And 9th is Greg Hansford.
All teams running their hardest compound tyres, but there's still no guarantees they'll get to 60 laps without problems.
It's closing up tremendously here. Georgie Fury. That's as close as George has been to the tail of Larry Perkins at any stage of this race. 12 laps of 60 into round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals. And Fury tails race leader Larry Perkins in the NZ Connectors Commodore. This time he might find a little opening. Larry's been easy on the tyres through this corner. He's been backing it out the last couple of laps, but he's got Fury looking for an inside run. He'll sit in the draft all the way down the straight and hopefully pull out at the last moment if he can get the right lie for the turn. And I tell you what, the Perkins car has got plenty of grunt going down the straight here at Adelaide. Make no mistake.
It also stops beautifully for a big car.
Yes, you've got to dip your hat to Larry Perkins and the NZ team. They have done a fantastic job of engineering a VK into a very quick car. He really does know how to drive. A former Formula 1 pilot, Formula 3 champion, raced just about everything you can imagine, and above all that, an excellent engineer.
And isn't he having a wonderful season? It's about time that Lady Luck shone a little on Larry Perkins. He's been in the shadows of a couple of other drivers and teams for so long. One tended to forget just what an accomplished driver, what a great engineer. And I tell you what, in 87, what a red-hot peddler he is. Fury is close this time, though, as they go across the line. Perkins checks out the mirror, knows where little George is. In the meantime, Johnson's gaining on the pair of them as they work the front straight. Grice is the next one back, trying to contain Jimmy Richards. And Glenn Seaton just sitting in behind them.
The championship leaders, Jimmy Richards and Glenn Seaton, very, very close to each other on the circuit.
fastest lap of the race so far, going to Larry Perkins. Let's take a look at the Castrol scoreboard. Larry Perkins, the leader from George Fewley, but only just. Then third place is Dick Johnson in the Sierra.
Welcome back to Adelaide International Raceway, and just look at Dick Johnson pulling out of the slipstream on race leader Larry Perkins. What a race we've had going here, blistering pace. Perkins still leads it. As you saw just a few seconds ago, Johnson getting up on the inside of Georgie Fury and then making a full frontal attack on Larry Perkins in the NZ Connectors Commodore. Johnson is definitely the mover in the field at the moment. The Shell Ultra High Ford entry number 17 coming down through the Bridgestone S's, now onto the bowl. Fury closes up. And Johnson looking very relaxed behind the wheel as they now work Yokohama straight. Perkins will lead it. We'll see whether or not Dick's Turbo Sierra can get the best of the V8 the next time that they hit the front straight. Coming out of the bend now. Onto the start finishing straight. Perkins just there. Johnson sits in for the draft. Fury trying to catch up and go with Johnson. Johnson eager to jump out of the draft already and looks for the inside run. Perkins holds his position on the racetrack, and here comes Johnson.
Oh, he's lost the rear wing or something. He's come off the Sierra.
The rear wing has come off the back of the Sierra. We'll see how much that will play with Johnson's machine, because Perkins gets it a little sideways as they go through there. No, wing is still in straight. Could be a little of the bumper. Who knows? We'll find that out a little later. Perkins, though, making life somewhat difficult for Nick Johnson. But we have a good race going with Perkins, the pace setter, since lap number 1. Johnson sitting in very close behind him.